Hey you guys, I'm sorry if I scared you earlier today with the presentation, but I am excited to help all of you succeed and I know you're all going to do great. Okay, so without further ado, let's talk about how to install Anki for use with the human body block deck that I compiled. First, download those files for human body block by navigating to bit.ly/cu-mstp. This is the cu-mstp resource folder, okay? If you haven't already, go to apps.ankiweb.net and download the most recent version of Anki for whatever your operating system is, as well as creating a profile on AnkiWeb so that you can sync your desktop Anki cards with your mobile devices. This is a very convenient way to study. Okay, I've already done those things. I've installed Anki fresh on my computer, and I've also already downloaded the contents of Human Body Block, Anki subfolder. Click download all. Download these things, okay? So I have done those two things. Here are my downloads. Here's the Anki file on Mac. You just drag it in here. Windows is probably a similar process, although I am not totally familiar. I doubt that it's going to be an issue for people that are as smart as you guys. Okay. Quick note on this cu-mstp resources folder. There are a few flash drives, two of them, and then a third that I have personally if you guys want to get these files from me. There are a couple high-yield study resources that I have for you guys, especially for these next couple preclinical classes, meaning blood and lymph, disease and defense, and cardiovascular, pulmonary, and renal. But I cannot host them on Google Drive because of copyright. So I can share those guys with you, share those files with you guys, and there are those two flash drives that are in circulation for you as well. Okay, so next let's open up Anki, and it should just look like this. Go to Tools, Add-ons. The first time you open this, it's going to ask you what language you want to use the app in. Choose whatever you want. It won't affect the way the cards show up. I chose English because I am dumb and can't speak any other languages. But maybe I'll learn Spanish, guys. Maybe I'm capable. So click View Files, go to Add-ons, and then select all of these by hitting Command-A if you're on a Mac or Control-A if you're on a Windows. Drag them in here, okay? You have just installed, 10 add-ons to Anki. You're also going to install this, Review Heat Map. Okay, so now you've got 11 add-ons, and Anki doesn't actually install those add-ons until you relaunch it. So go ahead and do that. Go back to the downloads, open up Anki, and we're all done with this. Okay, so it's got no activity data to show. It didn't say that before because now there's a heat map that shows up here that shows your progress throughout the year, which is really nice actually. Okay, so you've got the add-ons installed. And the really important one here, if any of you already have Anki and don't want to mess around with the add-ons, just install Better Tags from the Google Drive folder. That one costs money. I bought it, and it's extremely useful for reasons that you'll see in just a moment. So open up the deck. It's going to install, and it should have around 7,000 cards in it, but it's only going to show 3,000 files because these files are duplicated across several cards, right? So 3,000 files, around 7,000 cards within one deck, the Human Body Block deck. If you click on this, you'll see some stats. You haven't seen around 6,823 cards. But don't click Study Now. Do not study the Human Body Block deck because you're only going to use it as a stock folder to move cards out of, okay? So create two new folders, or new decks, Current and Review, okay? What we can do from here is open up the browser, and you'll see all of the cards that you have access to. If you click Whole Collection, you'll see them, 6,823 cards, and all 6,823 of them are tagged under Human Body Block, right? And then these tags are hierarchical. You can see the system here, okay? Every unit is separated into the regional anatomy sections: back, lower limb, upper limb for Unit 1, abdomen, pelvis, perineum, and thorax for Unit 2, and head and neck for Unit 3, the embryology for each unit, and the neurovasculature, so innervation and focus on the circulatory learning tools. Then Unit 1 has these two bonus sets of system overviews and terminology because those are among the first few anatomy lectures that you get, learning about anatomical directions and prefixes and suffixes that will help you understand what things mean as you come across them, okay? What you want to do now is select all of the cards in the entire collection by hitting Command-A or Control-A, depending on what operating system you're on. You're going to go to Cards and hit Toggle Suspend. And this makes it so that when we go to the decks, we don't actually have any cards that are unseen anymore. They're suspended. We're ignoring them, right? Okay. So this allows us to go to Unit 1, for example, select all the cards, and move them to the current deck because you are currently studying for Unit 1, right? But this doesn't mean that you have to study all 2,733 Unit 1 cards at once because you've suspended them. So you're going to unsuspend the cards that you actually want to study. And what I recommend, don't study all 850 back cards first, even though back is the first regional anatomy thing you're going to see. Just do the around 200 Anatomy slides. So these are from Netter's Anatomical Atlas, and they're just labeled. And also keep in mind that with the number of cards in here, there are some concepts that might show up on cards that won't actually get tested or mentioned in the lecture, okay? That's pretty limited. This should be a very high yield deck, but keep that in mind if you ever see a weird concept, you know, some funny little muscle or something that doesn't get mentioned or isn't on your learning objectives or practical identifications list that you're responsible for on the exam. Don't worry about that. You know, if you see those cards, you can delete them if you want to, just by selecting them in the browser and getting rid of them. Okay, so I'd recommend unsuspending the anatomy deck or the anatomy tag for the back unit. Let's toggle the suspension on those. And the system overviews and terminology sections, okay? And you can get through these. It says 400 cards, but you can get through these real fast because it's lots of, you know, what does the suffix stemi mean? It means making a hole in it, creation of a mouth or an artificial opening. That's fine, okay? So you can have both tags selected, select all the cards, unsuspend those as well, right? That's Control J or Command J, depending on your operating system. So now what you have is a current deck that has about 600 cards for you to study, you know, over the course of the next couple days. And these don't take so long. You know, on my Anki profile, my average time per card is a little over 10 seconds. So you don't have to spend a ton of time looking at these. They don't test you on a ton of information for the most part. Some cards are denser than others. But what you would do over the course of the block in alignment with the lecture schedule is gradually unsuspend all of the cards in the current deck. And then by the time the exam comes around, have seen all of them at least once, hopefully more than that. And after you take the exam and do super well on it, you'll select all of the cards in Unit 1, for example, and move them to review. And then you'll go to Unit 2, select all those, move them to current, and repeat the process of unsuspending whichever cards you want to study as they relate to the lecture schedule. Okay? This is all you need to do well in anatomy. And it'll give you the scheduling information here, right? It tells us that we need to study in the review deck now. So just keep up on these numbers. Make sure that you get your new cards out of the way and your reviews that are due out of the way, and you will stay passively on top of all of the material leading up into the cumulative exam, which means that you'll have a lot of free time in the days before the cumulative final because you'll have already matured all these cards and be super familiar with all the regional anatomy stuff that they might test you on. So once anatomy is over, we can talk more about other decks to use in Anki for studying for step 1, as well as the other preclinical courses that you guys are going to be dealing with in the next year. But for the time being, just focus on anatomy and you guys are going to pass. And not only that, you're going to do great.